A camera lucida is an optical instrument invented by Dr. William Hyde Wollaston, an English chemist. In 1806, he applied for a British patent for an instrument whereby any person may draw in perspective, or may copy or reduce any print or drawing. In 1807, he dubbed this instrument a camera lucida, meaning light room in Latin as opposed to camera obscura, dark room. The camera lucida performs an optical superimposition of the subject being viewed upon the surface upon which the artist is drawing. The artist sees both scene and drawing surface simultaneously, as in a photographic double exposure. This allows the artist to duplicate key points of the scene on the drawing surface, thus aiding in the accurate rendering of perspective. Camera lucida.
La chambre claire.
Is a short book published in 1980, by the French literary theorist and philosopher, Roland Barthes. It is simultaneously an inquiry into the nature and essence of photography, and a eulogy to Barthes' late mother. This book will be reviewed separately someday. The basic optics were described 200 years earlier by Johannes Kepler in his Dioptrice, but there is no evidence he or his contemporaries constructed a working camera lucida. By the 19th century, Kepler's description had fallen into oblivion, so Wollaston's claim was never challenged. Robert Hooke described a kind of camera lucida, on the principle of the magic lantern, in 1660s. He published Micrographia, a book describing observations made with microscopes. Canaletto, by name of Giovanni Antonio Canal, Italian topographical painter, developed the use of the camera Optical, a device by which a lens threw onto a ground glass screen the image of a view, which could be used as a basis for a drawing or painting. In 1806, Dr. Wollaston patented a simple form of the camera lucida, which gives bright and erect images. The term, camera lucida, is Wollaston's. The principle of the instrument is to project the subject directly onto the paper, through two reflections, when the light passes through the prism. Wollaston's design used a four-sided glass prism with four angles. The first reflection of the ray coming from the object, with its angle of incidence of 67.5 degrees. The second reflection also has an angle of incidence of 67.5 degrees, permitting all of the light from subject to travel to the eye. The light from the paper can still pass through the prism to the eye, allowing the action of the pencil on the paper to be seen. In its original form, the camera lucida was extremely difficult to focus properly, and a weak spectacle lens was added between the prism and the paper. A later form, developed about 1880 for use with a microscope, substituted two diagonal mirrors for the prism. One transparent mirror was positioned above the microscope eyepiece, and the second at a short distance above the paper. In 1827 and 1828, before the days of photography, Basil Hall sketched the landscape of North America by the camera lucida. Captain Hall obviously had no issues mastering the use of the camera lucida. His book opens with an explanatory memorandum which states,
"This valuable instrument ought perhaps to be more generally used by travelers than it now is. For it enables a person of ordinary diligence to make correct outlines of many foreign scenes."
William Henry Fox Talbot, who, on his honeymoon at Lake Como in Italy in October 1833, tried to sketch Lake Como by means of Wollaston's camera lucida, but, after various fruitless attempts, came to the conclusion that the instrument demanded some knowledge of drawing which he did not possess. This event led him to invent photography, in 1839. In 1839, Frederick Catherwood, an English artist, architect and explorer, explored Central America with writer John Lloyd Stephens. They visited dozens of ruins and resulting in the detailed description of 44 sites, many for the first time. With the camera lucida, Catherwood made meticulously detailed drawings of the ruins of the Maya civilization. In a 2001 book, Secret Knowledge, Rediscovering the Lost Techniques of the Old Masters, Hockney analyzed the work of the Old Masters and argued that the level of accuracy represented in their work is impossible to create by eyeballing it. Since then, Hockney and Falco have produced a number of publications on positive evidence of the use of optical aids, such as camera lucida, and the historical plausibility of such methods. The hypothesis led to a variety of conferences and heated discussions. The camera lucida is still being used today, albeit by a select few who can get their hands on one. Pablo Garcia, an assistant professor of contemporary practices at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, and Golan Levin, an associate professor of computation arts at Carnegie Mellon University, have created the modern-day version of a camera lucida, called a neo-lucida. The highest-rated app for drawing adds support for iOS versions, and higher for use with devices, such as the iPad and iPhone. Camera Lucida version 10.1 also brings support for Dropbox, Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, and iCloud. The camera lucida is simply a brass stand with a prism, and a few lenses. Before the application of photography, the camera lucida was of considerable importance to draftsmen. The advantages claimed for it were its cheapness, smallness and portability. It became very popular, in the beginning. However, once you have the lucida set up, you cannot move it until you have finished your drawing, as it is really difficult to get the exact same alignment again. Since photography was invented, the use of camera lucida was replaced by the former camera obscura. Although camera lucida is totally different from camera obscura, as said in the Talbot story, it contributed to the invention of photography.